Okay, so back to fighting games now, since it's been a while, and since I need another title on my search for the worst fighting game ever made. Fighter's Destiny, a 3D fighter, a Nintendo 64 exclusive, dropped first in North America, then Europe, and lastly in Japan. Fighter's Destiny was a bit of an exciting prospect for Nintendo 64 owners, as the console was desperately lacking in N64 exclusive fighting games, it really only having Mace the Dark Age, which was released the year prior, and KI Gold, which dropped 2 years prior to the release of Fighter's Destiny. Compared of course to the Sega Saturn, which actually had a wealth of exclusive fighting games available to it, the venerable Virtua Fighter series being the top among them. I bring up Virtua Fighter because Fighter's Destiny does actually kind of remind me of the series. I definitely feel like this game was meant to be Nintendo's answer to Virtua Fighter in a way. Can it match up with such an esteemed franchise though? Well, no, but let's give it a shot anyway. I have no idea if Fighter's Destiny has a story of any kind, so I'll just assume it has the same one as tons of other fighting games. A martial arts tournament has been called, and the world's greatest fighters are gathering to compete in it to prove who is the best of the best. Out of the gate, Fighter's Destiny features 9 fearsome fighters to play as, with secret 5 fighters available to unlock under certain conditions. Each of these fighters is classed under a certain archetype as well, ranging from all-rounder, to powerful, to quick, to skillful, to tricky, and aerial. Starting out the cast is Ryuji, bastard child of Street Fighter 1 Ryu and Jin Kazama. All-rounder type and fairly easy character to use overall. Your starter character, if you will. Abdul is a lard-ass all-rounder from Mongolia. Is that how Mongolians dress? Not really sure about that one, Chief, but regardless. Abdul is oddly slow for an all-rounder, is quite flamboyant with his constant posing, and his post-knockdown taunt is enough to send anyone to a furious rage. Pierre is a stinky clown in the game's sole tricky class character. He's actually pretty terrible and honestly one of the most bizarre characters I've ever used in a fighting game. A lot of his moves leave him back facing his opponent, which he can do moves from, but that's a very inconvenient place to be in. He can also lay down and roll, or he can play night crawlers. Interestingly, Pierre also has a special move where he pirouettes a bunch and it makes his nose grow. This, of course, boosts his damage for some reason. He can do this 5 times for a massive damage increase. But, you know, you gotta do the spin first, which, you know, leaves you real unsafe. Leon is a Spanish all-rounder who very strangely fights in what looks like the Colosseum at Rome. Tomahawk was my chosen fighter, a powerful class professional wrestler from the good old US of A. Weirdly, I think he kind of bears resemblance to Wolf Hawkfield, if you crossed Wolf with a member of Demolition, that is. Mai Ling is the game's quick-classed character. Hailing from China, she's obviously much faster than everyone else in the cast, but this is interestingly countered by her having no throwdowns whatsoever. She still has grabs, but instead of them being a throwdown, they're just simple little strikes that do a tiny bit of damage to her foe. Valerie is the game's aerial specialist, which I will assume refers to a lot of her maneuvers being daring and acrobatic looking. Bob is the other powerful fighter, a towering menace from Brazil who actually does distinguish himself from Tomahawk due to having far stronger lows in his arsenal. I mean, he has the rich white woman sweep, which makes his low game very, very strong. First time I've ever seen this move on, you know, a non-rich white woman. Till Jin BlazBlue at least. And Jiren. Why the hell does Jiren have the rich white woman sweep? And lastly of the default cast is Ninja. Skillful character, Ninja actually has a pretty devious and mobile moveset he can use. Mechanically, Fighter's Destiny is a pretty average 3D fighting game. Really, if you played something like Virtua Fighter or Tekken, you've played something similar in terms of execution at least. There's a button for punches, and a button for kicks, and a button for blocking, like Virtua Fighter. You can also move forward and back, and if you hold down one of the shoulder buttons, you can do a sidestep left or right. You also have additional moves and strings executed by pressing directionals with your punches and kicks. You also have grabs, of course, typically done by pressing punch and kick simultaneously. Useful, though these can be teched out of like in many other fighting games. A handful of competitors also have lock skills, which are grabs, but instead of being a throwdown, are sustained submission holds that allow you to squeeze the life out of your opponents, as long as you can outmash them, of course. Every character has a handful of different strings as well. That's where your average 3D fighting game similarities end. How Fighter's Destiny differentiates itself from the other 3D fighters out there is how it goes about determining the victor of a given fight. How Fighter's Destiny determines the winner of a fight is not what person depletes the enemy's life bar first, though there is a life bar. You win a game of Fighter's Destiny by accruing 7 points. How do you get points? A ring out and a judge's decision after a round ends will grant you 1 solitary point. A throwdown will give you 2 points. Knocking your opponent to the ground or countering one of their knockdown maneuvers will net you 3 points. Lastly, executing your character's special move will get you 4 points. points. Hey, this game has the explosion effect baked in. I don't even have to edit it in for once. Ah, hell, let's do one for old time's sake anyway. Your special moves are often your most brutal maneuvers, and they typically have a more complicated motion attached to them. For instance, Tomahawk's giant swing requires this input, which makes it a tad more complicated than your normal throw. However, this has changed though if you force your opponent into the Piori condition, which is Moon language for pounded into a submissive and breedable state, which is what your life bar is there to indicate. If this gets depleted, you turn purple, you can't defend yourself till it regenerates fully, and makes you vulnerable to getting 4-starred very easily. So if it gets depleted, just hope your opponent doesn't have an easy grab special, since that actually makes it really simple to just get 4 points. Which Tomahawk had one, so I was quite lucky. I realized this doubly so when I gave Bob a try, and his main special was a back grab. Your specials are also your most impressive looking maneuvers too, whether they be a brutal throw, or what is essentially a brutality from Mortal Kombat. That all being said now, how does this newfangled video game work in execution? Honestly, pretty well, I can't even lie. I think mechanically, the only really frustrating thing about Fire's Destiny is how stiff the controls can be. You definitely need to press your buttons with a bit of authority to get everything to come out properly. But once you get the feel of them, pretty much every move you execute will come out just fine. Otherwise though, it's just pretty damn fun. Matches are actually pretty fast-paced and tactical. I say tactical since one of the things you can do is hold on to the edge of an arena. Why would you do this? Yeah, apparently you can just sweep your opponent right off the edge of the arena for a point if they don't tech the throw. Obviously, you can get knocked off yourself via any low-hitting normal, but even if you do, it's just 1 point. No big deal, really. Fun game, though, for sure. Can't even lie at all, but let's bitch about the negative sides for a few moments. Game's, you know, pretty blocky looking, almost as much as the original Virtua Fighter. It definitely is not the prettiest game I've ever laid my eyes on, for sure. Stages are also a similar level of unimpressive, them being nothing more than a cube with some distant background textures to serve as the sky. Or, you know, just a flat surface. Also, presentation-wise, I will add a quick bonus in that I love the loser cam on the victory screen.
Loser! You're a loser!
Character designs also aren't really anything you'd ever write home about. I'm a man who enjoys his flamboyant character design in fighting games, and this game is really lacking in them. Barring the secret characters, I suppose. Everyone else, though, is pretty simple in terms of their design. I don't count simple designs as a negative for reference, but having a man in a skeleton bodysuit who fights crime or a gas mask commando helps your roster's memorability a lot more than what's going on here, for sure. The character movesets are pretty diverse and varied, though. I spent most of my times with both of the powerful big boys, and both of them felt far different from one another. So yeah, they got the movesets down here at least. On the audio front, things aren't particularly remarkable either. Thinking back on it now, I don't remember a single of the game's music tracks, or the voices even, really. Except for the announcer. His enthusiastic quote, "When you hit a special," is pretty spectacular. To be fair, I gave the music and voices another listen during my editing process. The music is okay, to be honest. I wouldn't write home about it, admittedly, but I'm not sticking a pencil in my ear to not listen to it anymore. And the voices are schlocky and fun. Kinda like Virtua Fighter, but not approaching the legendary status of those games, of course. Animation-wise, everything looks good, albeit a little bit strange at times. Honestly, all the tech animations for throws actually do look pretty good in motion. I can't complain. Doesn't look like an NRS game, at least. As for modes of play, well, that's actually where Fighter's Destiny does get a little bit interesting. You have a normal arcade mode, of course, every fighter in the game followed by a boss character, and you have the classic training mode too, which actually does give you a handful of different options for you to practice your character's various moves. On top of those, you have a survival mode, which is basically just trying to beat as many foes as you can at a 1-point limit. There's time attack, which tasks you with beating as many opponents as you can with a 4-point limit, as fast as you possibly can, and the rodeo mode, which tasks you with surviving in a ring as long as you possibly can against a cow named Ushi. Weirdly, you can actually win this match, but you instead want to last as long as possible against the cow, for the record. The most interesting mode, though, however, is what's called the Master's Challenge. Within this mode, the game presents you with a game of chance and a wheel of 2 separate opponents, the Master and the Joker. When you land on the Master, you face off against him, and if you are victorious in hand-to-hand combat, you will unlock a new move for your character. 8 in all here, plus the one you can earn from clearing the arcade mode. On the other side of the coin is the Joker, who serves as your quasi-SNES 10k boss of the game. He tests your skills as a fighter, and if you should fail to defeat him, well, you lose all of the moves you've learned for your character so far. Which, that's actually pretty brutal, all things considered. Which gives you 2 reasons to actually get good at the game here, though I imagine it'd be absolute hell to run a tournament for this game as a result. Which, I mean, kind of important for a fighting game, but regardless. Oh, and to finish up the game's roster with those secret characters real quick, you'll unlock Boro after clearing an arcade mode. The Master himself can be unlocked after clearing every mission in the Master's Challenge. Joker can be unlocked if you defeat 100 opponents in the survival mode. Robert, the training robot, can be used after clearing the time trials, and Ushi the cow, yeah, you can play as the cow if you want, will be unlocked if you last over a minute in the game's rodeo mode. And yeah, I think that's all that really needs to be said about Fighter's Destiny. To the point of this channel though, where does this particular title end up on the list though? It's actually getting kind of hard to place these games now, I can't lie, but after due deliberation, Fighter's Destiny will end up as the new number 6 on the list. Honestly, Fighter's Destiny reminds me a lot of Kensei Sacred Fist in a way. It's a pretty damn fun game wrapped in very lacking presentation. Unlike Kensei, though, Fighter's Destiny actually introduces a unique victory system for its combat, and that system doesn't actually bog down the gameplay at all. I actually very much enjoyed playing and capturing footage for this game, and I honestly didn't even mind going back to capture additional footage for it as well. Unlike other titles, where I actually kind of dreaded doing that. It was actually really hard to place this one just beneath Kensei, but overall I just had more fun with Kensei. It was really close, though. In truth, you could probably flip these two around, no problems. Unlike Kensei Sacred Fist, though, Fighter's Destiny actually managed to squeak out a sequel in Fighter's Destiny 2, which I'll have to take a look at sometime. See if they improved on the formula of this one at all. Shoutouts to viewer Ozalato for suggesting this one. It was a fun title to play for sure. Thank you very much. Anyway, though, I must sign off now. As always, faithful viewers, my name is HadesManticore, and this here channel is CityStateManticore. Thanks a ton for watching if you did. I'd very much appreciate it if you left a like and a comment too. Also, be sure to subscribe, because as always, there's more content to come. I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.